The beginning of it, when I was there, it was almost after 7 years of war or 6 years of war which passed. Many people were killed. 80% of the country was destroyed. The roads were destroyed. No communication system. More than 500,000 until then were killed or wounded or maimed. More than 4 million people had become refugees in Iran and Pakistan and in the world. And the Soviet army was indeed pressing or bringing a lot of pressure to win the war against us. The people, the poor people of Afghanistan, decided and were determined to fight for their freedom. Whether they indeed thought that they will see the war, the freedom or not, but they did it. I was the head of the political office of my party, and my aim was and mission was to mobilize people all over the country, and I more than 13 times, 13 times, I was roaming Afghanistan either by my donkey or by horse or on foot. And I was carrying 3 notebooks with me always. One was military, one was political, and the thick one, which I loved it always, was the notes that I was writing to my wife. Mm-hmm. Mainly because to fill my own heart with comfort and peace and love. My wife was in Pakistan, Sohaila, with 2 children, 2 boys, and they could not see me. There was no telephone that I call her. And I was 6-7 months in Afghanistan, mobilizing people, and she did not know what would happen to her husband, what would happen to the father of 2 children. I was also thinking, besides military and political, I have got someone who is waiting at home, and she has allowed me to come for fight for freedom. I was writing for her, sometime every hour, sometime every day, about not war at all, not war as a whole, not military or political things, but about the whisper, the plight, the pain, hope, lamentation, laughter of my common people in a war which is relevant to any war with any common people. Soviets indeed occupied and invaded our land and took our freedom. They took the land. Taliban, they took freedom of our mind. Taliban did not allow my people, though they were free, their land were free. Taliban was, something of Afghanistan, most of them, but the mind of the people were not free. When you have the land free and the mind not free, you have to fight for. This is why freedom of press, freedom of movement, freedom. So that was the difference. We fought against the Soviets because of freedom of the land, against Taliban because they were fanatic, they were extremist. They were indeed taking the freedom of the mind of my people. He was an honest man, brave man, visionary person. He was also very patient, and he had always a plan. But above everything, that he was my friend, he was a good human being. If you have everything and you're not a good human being, you become either Taliban or communist or fascist or fanatic. But if you are a good human being, whatever you have works for a human being. We want them to stay. The people of Afghanistan, majority, absolute majority, want them to stay. I think they will stay to some extent. I wish they had more troops in Afghanistan, but they have taken some of their troops. But they will stay in Afghanistan, hopefully, until we unitedly destroy terrorism in Afghanistan and in the region, which takes time. And they should be patient. As in the book I say, that patience is sour, but it has got a sweet fruit. Still, they are in some places in Afghanistan launching a terrorist war. As you know, terrorist war is a nasty war which you do not know your enemy. So it is worse than fascism, communism, Nazism, and it is terrorism. So they are in some parts of Afghanistan, not all over, creating every day some problem. Education, it takes time. If there is little security, schools will be closed. 420 schools were burnt in Afghanistan in the last 6 years. Because fanatics know that their enemy is not a bomb. Their enemy is not a gun. Their enemy is not a superpower. Their enemy is education. In the last 15 years, we have gained a lot with the help of NATO forces and world community, including Spain in that. In relation to education, army, police, political institutions, hospitals, roads. One example, time of Taliban, we had maybe 1,000 boys going to school, no girls. Now we have got more than 4 million boys and girls go to school. In time of Taliban and before, we didn't have more than 1,000 soldiers, and now we have got more than 300,000 soldiers, boys and girls. Media, freedom of media, nothing we had. Now we have got 41 channels of TV, all with. I think if they stay with us and believe that ultimately we reach the goal, for some years we stand with the education that we have on our own foot, economically, politically, and also we will educationally, and then with the richness of Afghanistan that we are. It's one of the richest countries in the world, but we don't have security to take it. One problem we have, security. If we take security of terrorism in Afghanistan, if we are dealing with that, Afghans, I think they can stand on their own foot, though poor. One is to be, number one, that all these three so-called Islamic groups, like Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and IS, they are all Muslims. But all Muslims are not terrorists. Common sense. Number two, Muslims and non-Muslims indeed should make a mechanism to fight against these three everywhere and call them terrorists. Because terrorism doesn't have any ethnicity, any religion. Terrorism is terrorism. So I think if we, with one goal, unitedly stand, which is difficult in this world, you know, because we are at the verge of, hopefully not, second Cold War. So in that we have to indeed be united and target terrorism, not target our own interests. Otherwise we suffer, they suffer. The only institution which will, or the only source which will be successful is terrorism, or will stay long. Because if they started, they stay long. They brainwash the boys everywhere. I personally am optimist that now we have indeed diagnosed the disease, that IS or terrorism is terrorism. The only thing that we should be united, not on the interest of local interest or national interest of our own selves in America, in Russia, in Germany, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Saudi Arabia, in Iran. We have to target it unitedly. Again, I say, it's not easy. But thank God they have diagnosed the disease. How to fight against? Different doctors are there. We have to tell the doctors that we need a medicine for or against terrorism. I think we are entering slowly into that. Because despite our enemy is the same, in the first Cold War, the lines were clear. If we, God forbid, now enter the second Cold War, or the Cold War the second, our lines are not clear, they are blurred. So everybody will fight against everybody. Who will get the benefit? Terrorism. The first Cold War, lines were NATO, Warsaw. And now you will see that all of a sudden you get someone, because we are not targeting the enemy, which is terrorism or fanaticism. We are indeed thinking about our own interest, which we have to think about interest, no doubt. It is very important that we think about interest, but not sufficiently important. Our interest will be indeed jeopardized by the common enemy. I tell you that without hope, no one in the world can win any war in the world, whether it's a family war, poverty war, political war. My experience is that if we did not have this hope in Afghanistan, we could not indeed defeat the Soviets. My father has got a beautiful poetry, beautiful, which says, Yatime dardmandi binawai برآورد از دل صحرا صدایی من زنهار از کفشم امید اگر خواهی رسی روزی به جایی. Oh, my people, oh, the world, rich or poor, if you have got a problem and a mountain to climb, never, ever let the candle of hope to slip from your palm. If you have hope, you live forever. If you don't have hope, you die every minute. And hope comes through love, not hatred.